This is Seymour Rocks reporting from down under. I just want to make another report on crisissolutions.com and the other firms offering crisis simulation. So unless we're of a slightly paranoid mindset, or unless we've researched this deeply, it's very difficult for the average decent person to even conceive that it is possible for terrorist attacks to be simulated either by crisis actors or by a drill gone live. We simply cannot conceive that it is even possible for people to be so warped, so evil, that they can carry out such acts. So the usual and reasonable, I would say, response, at least to begin with, is one of denial. It can't possibly be possible. It's impossible. But unfortunately, it's all too possible, and some people come pretty close to telling us what it is that they're doing. So my ears pricked up when I heard researcher Ole Dammegard mention a firm called crisissolutions.com. And then I realized while I was listening that I'd heard about this all before. A couple of years ago, Debbie, the sane progressive, went into all of this and identified different firms in the US and the UK that offer their services in crisis simulation. Unfortunately, Debbie is no longer active for whatever reason and has removed all her videos from the internet. So I'm not going to refer back to her. However, the researcher Ole Dammegard talked about this in this segment from his interview with Vinny Eastwood. So I will play just a little bit of that right now.
And I also want to say, like you were talking about Facebook being hijacked. There's one company that I find highly suspicious in all of this, one of several. It's called crisis-solutions.com. Its headquarters is in London. This is the deal when it comes to these operations, I tell you. If you go to the website crisis-solutions.com, you will see that you have to look around for it because they're not sort of screaming about where they put the promotional video. But if you look on the Crisis Cloud, that's where you find it. And in that video, they brag about how they carry these operations out, but they call them crisis simulations, and that you are a player. And everybody can be part of playing it as long as they have internet connection. In it, what they describe is that they got special different units. They got like the commando center, they got the CEOs of the whole operation, depending on who is the client, different governments or whatever it is. But they also got the tactical teams on the ground, and they got news feeds. And in these news feeds, which is fake, they're very proud of saying it's absolute fake news media, fake press conferences. They got hundreds of Twitter accounts integrated. They've got hundreds of fake Facebook accounts that are pumping out the whole thing in live time, the timeline is live, and they brag about how they can hit multiple targets at the same time, even on different continents at the same time, and they can redirect in live time as well. Should somebody like myself come in and start messing it up, they will just redirect and take another target. So a very, very interesting video if you look at it, crisis-solutions.com and then Crisis Cloud. That is what the Crisis Cloud is what they're bragging about. And I found them because they were doing the drill that led up to the Westminster Bridge attack. That was the first time I found them. But there are other companies that goes very much hand in hand with these people as well. You got like crowd on demands where you can rent a crowd, whatever crowd you need. If you want a rally, if you want a demonstration, if you want fans for a rock band or whatever, you can just rent them. Crowds on demand. You got mourners for rent. where you can rent mourners for funerals. They're very good at crying and looking very sad. You can rent what is called sim bodies. They are very authentic looking dead or bodies, but they're not real. And many of them, or you can buy even with moving organs inside, so that you can operate on them, but also where they're pumped up with blood and stuff inside. So should you fire a shot into the head, it will look like a real body, but it's not. And there's kappa cadavers, there's amputees for rent, where you can rent crisis actors, but with amputated legs or arms, which will make it very authentic looking, because then you can have blow of limbs and whatever. So all of it can very, very easily be put together. You got another one called Crisis Cast. You got another one called crisis-actors.org. There's multiple of these things. And then working together, especially through a company called Serco.com, and you in New Zealand are so under control of Serco.com. And this is a company most people have had, they don't even know it exists. And it's the biggest, there's a presentation on YouTube, I think it's called Serco, the biggest company you never heard of. That one, it's unreal. What they control in transportation, in jail system, in the legal system, in the army, in you name it, they're there. And this is how they play it, through these hidden networks where we are like, no way could they do that. No, yeah, they could, and they're doing it. And we're the victims of it.
That's funny.
So, anyway, hell, lost my notes. I've decided to go back and check on some of the material I hold on these companies, as well as some solutions, new situations. I hope it'll be sufficient, taken with other evidence, to convince you that this is real, that this is certainly real. So let's go first of all to the company that Ole mentions. It's Crisis Cloud. So this is the home page of their website, where they advertise what they are doing. So I will put all the links to this down below in the description. You go a little bit further, and this is what they say. They talk about their the services that they offer. So let's just go to the video and let them speak for themselves.
Crisis Solutions are the crisis simulation experts, and one of the reasons we lead the pack is Crisis Cloud, our secure web portal that simulates real-world communications during an exercise. It features simulated news videos, print news stories, and social media. There's also Crisis Mail, with emails coming from a myriad of sources to ramp up pressure on the players. A chat function allows teams and individuals to message each other as the scenario unfolds. To log on, all you need is a broadband connection. Participants have password-protected access, so your exercise won't leak into the real world. News stories and tweets pour in as the exercise progresses. Crisis Solutions journalists will phone participants, updating their stories on the fly. Players themselves can put out internal messages to staff and external messages to all other stakeholders. Crisis Cloud, the secure media web portal that'll bring your exercise to life.
So that's the first company that is mentioned. And then the other one that has gone into in considerable detail by Debbie, Sane Progressive, is Crisis Cast. So here is their from their the front of their web page. And here goes some more. And here goes something that they've posted: how to simulate a terrorist atrocity. So they're pretty open in what they do. It's kind of all in plain sight. And well, here goes another company, but I will come back to that. I'm going to play the video. This is from Crisis Cast. So.
This type of exercise needs to be as realistic as possible. You need it to be exciting and bring it to life and put people under pressure as much as you can. I went to Crisis Cast because they were recommended. They've been able to bring the kind of production to it, the pyrotechnics, the professional actors, the storylines. They are able to really bring it to life and make it really exciting for those involved.
Rather than spending 4 hours in a classroom, we can now spend an hour in a classroom and an hour actually in the real world. And as a training vehicle, that's phenomenal, because it means you are actually training people in something that, God forbid it doesn't, but it could happen.
Everything is in place.
The reality that we can provide, the authenticity becomes immersive. That's the sort of thing that comes back when you really need it.
It's a very faithful replication of the human behaviours that are inevitably and inescapably involved in a flashpoint moment. And we're really targeting what goes on inside the individual.
Unless you do a test run like this, it's too late. You'll be making the mistakes live rather than making the mistakes on an afternoon like this, when it doesn't matter so much.
It's about that individual encouraged, reinforced, scaffolded, bolstered with the knowledge that they're not going to fall apart during a flashpoint moment.
So, there's an article that was written about this particular company in 21st Century Wire, and they linked this company directly to the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting, and they described the whole kind of activity of this particular company. So I'll leave that in the description. So here goes another company that called Magnum Services. It was described in great detail by Debbie, although I can't find them on the net. But I mean, this is pretty kind of obvious. Our capabilities of casualty simulation effects range from the unobvious and not visible to the physical traumatic injuries, such as primary health care simulation, rashes, blisters, bites, and shock, closed, healing wounds involving lacerations, bruising, and scarring, infected necrotic wounds, head and facial injuries, including avulsions and abrasions, fractures both open and closed, and so on. So, and then last but not least, we have Crisis X. Now, this was brought to our attention during Vinny's interview with Ole Dammegard. And this was an advertisement for a seminar that was held earlier in March. Not long, just a few days before the events in Christchurch. The 5th and 6th of March. Crisis X, the Readiness Conference, from natural disaster to data breach, inappropriate behaviour to product tampering. A crisis can ravage your business internally and destroy your credibility in the eyes of your customers. Well, who knows? It just says, world-class speakers at New Zealand's first simulation event. So there we are. That's plenty to mull over, and I'll leave it there. So that's Seymour Rocks reporting from Down Under.